All right, let's talk about something that caused a huge stir. Remember when Kubernetes announced it was deprecating Docker, and the whole internet basically had a meltdown? Well, today, we're not just going to clear up that confusion once and for all. We're also going to dive into the security practices that actually matter, the stuff that will keep your clusters from getting hacked.
It all kicked off with this one little announcement, and seriously, the tech world just lost its mind. People immediately thought their Docker files were trash, their entire workflow was broken, but the truth? Your Docker images and your Docker files work perfectly fine. So let's get into what really happened here.
Okay, so let's break this down. The fear was like immediate panic, right? Docker is dead, all my work is useless. But the reality? It's so much simpler. Your Docker-built images, they work perfectly. See, they follow this open standard, the Open Container Initiative, or OCI, which basically means they'll run flawlessly on any modern runtime. This whole change was never about the images you build. It was all about what was happening with the engine inside the cluster.
So, what did deprecating Docker actually mean? Well, it had absolutely nothing to do with the Docker command you're using on your laptop every single day. No, this was all about a little piece of software, a compatibility layer inside the Kubernetes nodes called the dockershim.
You know, the best way to think about this is with a restaurant analogy. The full Docker tool we all know and love, that's the whole restaurant. It's got the nice user-friendly dining area, that's your CLI, the whole user experience. But in the back, it's got the kitchen, the engine room, doing all the hard work. That kitchen is a container runtime called Container D. Now, Kubernetes, it's not a person sitting down to order from the menu. It's an automated system that just needs to talk directly to the kitchen.
And for years, to get to that kitchen, Kubernetes had to go through this weird middleman, the dockershim. It was basically a translator. It would take orders from Kubernetes, pass them to the Docker engine, which would then tell the kitchen what to do. It was just an extra, kind of clunky step in the chain.
And that brings us to the bottom line. So what changed? Kubernetes just removed that dockershim translator. That's it. Now it can talk directly to the kitchen, Container D. But what didn't change? Well, everything that actually matters for your day-to-day. You still use Docker build. Your OCI images run perfectly. And yes, your Docker files are completely 100% safe.
So the main thing to remember is that your development workflow is totally unchanged. This whole thing just made Kubernetes a little bit leaner, a little more efficient, by cutting out a piece it didn't need. And really, this change just helped standardize how we think about container runtimes.
Okay, so with dockershim gone, Kubernetes needed a standard way to talk to any kitchen, to any container runtime. And that, my friends, is where the Container Runtime Interface, or CRI, comes into play. The CRI is basically a universal plug. It's a standard API that lays out the rules for how the kubelet, that's the agent on each worker node, talks to a container runtime. No more special adapters, no more shims. As long as a runtime can speak CRI, Kubernetes is happy to work with it. Simple as that.
Now, this is where it gets interesting. You've got a few main players. First, there's Container D, which you'll remember was the kitchen from Docker. It's now the industry standard, the default for Kubernetes. Then you've got CRI-O, which is this super lightweight alternative built from the ground up just for Kubernetes. And then you have these sandboxed runtimes like gvisor or Kata containers, which add this extra thick wall of security, perfect if you're running code you don't fully trust.
And hey, if you're studying for your CKA or CKAD exam, you'll want to lock this in. CRI is the standard API, Container D is the default runtime, and CRI-O is that minimal Kubernetes native alternative you'll see a lot in places like OpenShift. Getting that relationship right is absolutely key.
Okay, so the whole runtime thing is cleared up. Now, let's pivot to the stuff that can actively stop your cluster from getting breached. How to properly secure your workloads using Kubernetes' own built-in tools.
Right out of the box, Kubernetes gives us 3 pod security standards. Just think of them as security levels. You've got privileged, which is totally wide open. You should only ever use this for core system stuff. Then there's baseline, which is what you should be using by default. It's not too restrictive, but it blocks all the common, known ways an attacker might try to escalate their privileges. And finally, you have restricted, which is for maximum security, really locking things down for your most sensitive applications. And the best part? You don't need any fancy third-party tools to get started. The Pod Security Admission Controller is built right in. You can apply these policies to either enforce them, just audit them, or even just warn developers by adding a simple label to a namespace. It's a super powerful native security control. But these standards are just the start.
Coming up, we're going to cover 4 golden rules you can apply directly to your pods, so if you're not subscribed, now's a good time to do it.
So, pod security standards are awesome for setting broad policies on a whole namespace. But what if you want to get really specific? That's where the security context comes in. It lets you apply these fine-grained hardening settings to individual pods and containers. And there are 4 golden rules you should really be using on pretty much every single thing you deploy.
Let's kick it off with rule number 1. And honestly, this might be the single most important setting for preventing a container breakout.
You've got to set run as non-root to true. Seriously, running a process as the root user inside a container, even though it's namespaced, is just asking for trouble. If an attacker finds a vulnerability, you've basically handed them the keys to the castle. This one setting massively shrinks your attack surface.
All right, rule number 2. This one is all about containment. It's about making sure a compromised process stays in its box and can't get any more powerful. Next up, set allow privilege escalation to false. This just flat out prevents a process inside your container from gaining more power than it started with. It's a classic attack vector, and this setting just shuts it right down.
And number 3. This one is so simple, but man, is it effective. It's all about making an attacker's life really, really difficult.
Make the container's root file system read-only. I mean, think about it. If an attacker gets in, but they can't write to the disk, they can't install their malware, they can't change config files, they can't download their toolkits, they're basically stuck. It just stops them cold.
And finally, the 4th golden rule. This one gets to the very heart of good security, the principle of least privilege.
Okay, so by default, containers get a bunch of powerful permissions from the Linux kernel called capabilities. The best practice here is to just drop all of them. Get rid of them, and then only add back the very specific ones your app truly needs to run. Like maybe it needs netbind service to listen on a port below 1024. But that's it, least privilege. You see, when you put these 4 simple settings into your pod specs, you fundamentally harden your workloads right from the start. But you have to remember that a hardened pod running a vulnerable image is still a huge risk. Real security has to start before your pod even gets scheduled. You have to secure your supply chain. That means using trusted, minimal base images, scanning them for vulnerabilities with tools like Trivy or Snyk, and signing them with something like Sigstore to prove they haven't been tampered with.
So let's wrap this all up. What are the key takeaways? First, don't worry about Docker. The whole deprecation thing was just about removing the dockershim, and your images are totally safe. Second, Container is the new default runtime, and it talks to Kubernetes through the CRI standard. Third, start using the built-in pod security standards. Apply the baseline policy to your namespaces today. And finally, enforce those 4 golden rules in your security context and make sure you're practicing good image security. That's how you build a robust defense.
So if you're ready to make a commitment to better security and finally stop running your containers as root, let us know. Drop a no more root in the comments below. It's such a small change, but it makes a massive difference. You've hardened your pods, which is awesome. But what about the network traffic flowing between them? In our next explainer, we're going to unravel the mystery of Kubernetes networking and make it simple. Thanks for watching. We'll see you then.